Merry Christmas, guys!
Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays,
Happy
Maddie,
holidays.
Steph.
Happy holidays. Yes, it's happy holidays. Welcome, everyone. So we are going all Christmassy over here with our Christmas panel today. But to kick us off, behind the scenes, what you don't know is we always do a bad joke. I stole this from someone else's streamer before I start. So we're going to kick us off with a bad Christmas joke. So, guys, how do snowmen get around? They ride icicles. The punchline was poorly delivered. That's bad. I did Google worst Christmas graphic, so that's what you get. Okay.
I like it. And I think that's the other thing that we were talking about too was holiday episode. How much can we bring in about snowball, ice lake, cookie management. All of our favorite holiday topics.
Yeah, the festive things. Do you know what that really meant, actually? I was thinking, what festive things did I see? I actually got given a Christmas bauble by Deliveroo. That was one of the things I got given. And I was like, okay, it's just sitting on my tree, a weird Christmas Deliveroo bauble. Not irrelevant, but yeah. Okay, so thank you guys, especially for dressing up. We've all got our Christmas attire on. I've got an ABBA Christmas Snowing Me, Snowing You jumper. I just feel like I need to highlight. Thanks to my best friend who bought me this. But yeah, today we want to bring on all the Christmas puns. Yes, thanks for pointing out in the chat. Christmas puns, Christmas chat, all about optimization, and we'll be kicking off with some questions that we had submitted in. So very exciting. We've had loads of people submit loads of questions, very festive questions. So thank you for everyone who gave us questions. We really appreciate the questions, but mainly the creativity that went behind some of these. People put some effort into thinking up some of this stuff. But just for generally future conversations, any questions you have in general, cost optimization at amazon.com, just for general things. So yeah, let's get into it. So welcome everyone to the Keys to AWS Optimization, the show where we share stories, concepts, and solutions to help you unlock your spend at AWS. So today my name is Stephanie Gooch. I'm a senior commercial architect at AWS in the optics team. John?
Yeah, John Massey, also a member of the optics team. Been here at AWS for about 2 years now.
And we have special guest Matty. Matty, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, yeah, Matty Serapio, also a commercial architect on the optics team. Been here about 2 years as well.
So Matty came and joined us on a Kerr episode. That was the one you did before, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So check that out if you are wanting to get into in-depth how to get into Kerr. Matty does a great episode on how to explain the breakdown of queries and stuff like that. But today he's joined us to add a little bit more reindeer Christmas cheer, so you might hear his
jingle right there. I may keep the hood down though, because I don't know if it quite goes over my headphones, but I'll give you a preview right there.
Oh my god, that's excellent. I'm jealous of that. Okay, brilliant. So what we've done is, like I said, we are going to be jumping into some questions that were sent to us. So I'll be posting them in the chat, and then we'll be popping them up on the screen as we go. So forgive me for a lot of copying and pasting that's going to be going on from my side, but we're going to jump into our first question. So tell us, how does Santa optimize his object storage so he can fit all those objects in his sleigh? So focusing mainly on the optimizing storage. John, how would you recommend you help Santa with this kind of question?
So something just dawned on me, right? I think what Santa would probably do is, he would check his list, and he would check his list twice, right? Like he would generate, S3 inventory output for all of his buckets, and maybe look through that list of objects that he has, and try to figure out, hey, are any of these objects ones that we could expire off with a life cycle policy? Do we have too many objects? Or more than we're expecting? Anything else that's in there? I think that usage reduction piece is going to be kind of a first step for Santa as far as optimizing, what he's doing on S3.
Excellent. And I'll just check a link in there. So if you are looking to optimize your general storage in S3, specifically getting rid of those things like delete markers, I was going to say getting rid of the coal in the stockings by deleting things like delete markers and policies. Hopefully everyone who's watching this is a silly Christmas episode, but we are going to be answering questions within questions. So just keep an eye out for what we're trying to ask.
And I mean, I guess we're being a little playful, but on that same note, I mean, those types of things, are definitely places where we've seen folks, find some really interesting revelations, like before they even get to this point of like storage class optimization, or if maybe they're, not optimizing for storage classes because they think that they've got a lot of really tiny objects, or they've got, a distribution of objects that they don't really understand too well. Looking at like an S3 inventory can be a good way to kind of qualify that out. And sometimes folks will find like, hey, I do have billions or tens of millions of objects, but a good chunk of that is like a great fit for, a storage class, and they can transition off based on prefix, or, a bunch of different ways to kind of do that based on tags. So, I think, I think Santa's onto something with the list, that's definitely one you might want to apply.
Yeah, definitely. Matty, any other optimizations you want to add for us three?
Yeah, sure. So maybe if Santa has a lot of objects, he has a lot of lists there, is maybe just grouping them into like a zip file, right? Maybe geographical region, so that you have a little bit a smaller object count size. Other things, this past reinvent cycle, we announced a couple more checks as part of the S3 storage lens there. And S3 storage lens is a great way to gain visibility around your different patterns. So Santa can take a look at, hey, is there certain things that are multi-part uploads that actually we don't have any lifecycle policies built around, and they're incomplete multi-part uploads rather. So taking a look at those storage-len new metrics that have been launched there, I think would be a good idea.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll probably have another question in a bit about other presents that left under the reinvent tree, but that was definitely a good one to hear about recently. Okay, cool. So we've had a question, and guys, if you have, they don't have to be festive. If you could make them festive, that'd be amazing. But we've got a question thrown in. So is there a way to optimize how Santa effectively glues his gifts? So any ways to optimize, I'm assuming AWS glue. John, do you have any of these?
Yeah, we had a good announcement a couple months back around Glue Flex, which is basically a new option Santa could use for glue if he has, maybe some opportunities to do the gluing during less time constrained periods, like, off season, maybe, it's fall, Santa wants to glue up some of that stuff, not quite as time sensitive. He could take advantage of Glue Flex as basically a way to reduce some of that cost when there's not quite as much pressure around getting that stuff glued up quickly.
Oh, nice. I've never heard of GlueFlex before. It's something for me to go and do some homework on. Matty, anything else you know about for glue?
No, I think John hit it there, and like you, I didn't know about GlueFlex, so thanks for educating me too, John.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll put that link over here in the chat too.
Yeah, and I found a nice little blog about optimization memory, so check out that. But maybe that's a call to action. We need to have a glue episode. We have never done a glue episode before, so we'll check that out. Okay, cool. All right, next question that we had submitted. That previous one was from Dusty. I'm going to try and call out the names as we go. So this one's from Steve. There we go. It's a two-parter for this one. So how would you advise Santa about migrating his naughty and nice list to the cloud with cost optimization in mind? And also, what side of the naughty and nice list would you be on, and why? So, Matty, do you want to go first on this? Any tips for people that are migrating to the cloud to keep cost optimization in mind?
Yeah, in terms of the naughty or nice list, depends on where it might be. So maybe Santa's putting in his object storage. So taking advantage of the different different tiers that you have in storage there. So Santa might only be leveraging those for the latter part of the year, and once it's complete, maybe moving those to say an infrequently accessed or glacier tier, so that Santa can save some money on that. So making sure that you put some lifecycle policies around that, intelligent tiering. Maybe if Santa doesn't have to want to worry about that. For me, I would hope that I'm on the nice side, helping folks optimize on their different items there. So.
And John, anything else about optimization when it comes to migrating, anything new to the workload?
Yeah, we'll use this as an opportunity to do, a shameless plug for a new feature. So the document DB elastic clusters was something that just was announced at reInvent that gives the opportunity to kind of scale performance. I think that that naughty nice list is probably going to be a pretty bursty workload with maybe pretty read intensive, end of year, that last big day, going to be pulling out a lot of details from that, and maybe, different workload patterns for the rest of the year. So that might be a feature he might want to take advantage of.
Oh, definitely. And someone just asked, what about DB for the list? So he was already kind of covered. Did you say document DB or MongoDB?
Yeah, document
Document
DB, or
DB.
maybe he wants to use DynamoDB. That'll be another one where, with Dynamo, they can toggle between provisioned throughput and on-demand throughput, once every 24 hours. So if he wants to run it on demand for the majority of the year, and then there's more of a performance expectation on Christmas Day, Santa can kind of toggle that in and save some money that way.
Excellent. And so I'm going to throw in as well. Wait, John, naughty or nice? Where are you on the list? Are you on the good or bad?
What's that?
Are you on the naughty or nice list? I'm going to say John's on the nice list.
I hope we're all on the nice list. Yeah, we're we're trying our best out here.
I say anything for migrating. If you're going to stick on, I'll kind of cover on the same database thing. If you are migrating to the cloud, try migrate straight onto Graviton. Simple and easy. We always bring up Graviton as a great solution to optimize your costs. But if you're moving straight onto it, like if you're going to use something that is enabled with Graviton, make sure you're on that top engine version, the newest one that's available, and then take advantage of that Graviton saving. That'd be quite a simple and easy one. And someone's answered the question. Santa's staying in shape with his flex glue. So thanks, we answered that question. And we are on the nice list for sure. Thank you so much. Love it. Okay. Oh, this is kind of going off of what I mentioned a little bit earlier. So this question's from Ben. What do you consider to be the greatest gift left under the reInvent Christmas tree? John, do you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah. I think one of the biggest ones is around compute optimizers integration of the third-party observability metrics. So for folks that maybe aren't familiar, haven't had a chance to play around with this one, compute optimizer is going to give you free access to a 14-day look back period for recommendations on EC2, EBS, Lambda functions, auto scaling groups, all kinds of great stuff like that. It uses the CloudWatch metrics that are already being stored with those workloads. But this new feature that just came out allows you to pull in additional metrics. So you can pull those in from Dynatrace, Datadog, New Relic, and have this kind of extra additional kind of set of metrics that can help inform any of those recommendations. So really, really cool feature to kind of pull in stuff from those third-party observability partners.
Awesome. Yeah, there's a few that I liked. So one for me is the RDS blue-green deployment. So being able to launch a staging environment to test out your different things. So Steph mentioned moving to Graviton, right? So maybe you want to have that staging environment, test out the changes before promoting into production. You can use this feature here to actually build out that staging environment, test your changes, and then after switch it over to production. So something that we tested out internally, taking a look if we could attach, say, like a GP3 volume, move it to a different instance type there. Yeah.
And Matty, I'm thinking that that's going to probably free up a lot of time for the elves too, right? So they're not going to be doing all this testing kind of on their own. They can use those automated blue-green tests to hopefully expedite the upgrades, right?
Yeah, and then feel more comfortable and confident that things are going to go without a hitch for the holiday season.
Excellent. I need to look into. There's so many announcements at reInvent. There were too many to keep track of. I need to dive into that one for sure. I am definitely going to say that the CloudWatch one is one I'm looking forward to trying out, where you can have one kind of pane of glass for your monitoring account for CloudWatch. That's something that we do a lot when we created the optimization data collector, was to kind of solve that problem. So we're going to have to change ours to utilize that. And I'm just looking forward to seeing how you can layer on different sets of data from different accounts and utilize it. And also just a note for John's one. So apologies if anyone was watching last week. My fault. I pasted the wrong link for Savannah in the announcement. So she may have read out a compute optimizer announcer from 2021 when she meant to read out the one that John did. So just in case anybody wonders why we mentioned a 2021 announcement last week. Okay, cool. All right, let's pull up the next one. All right, this one is a hefty question with a bit of math work put into it. Thanks to John. He wanted to throw this one in. Okay, so estimates say that Santa needs to deliver gifts to 22 million kids per hour and up to 6,000 per second. Oh my God. Can AWS share anything about optimizing bulk gift retrieval? Obviously, kind of forget about the time continuum that seems to stop when Santa's in a sleigh. But yeah, John, what's the thinking behind this one?
Yeah, and I mean, we don't know all the math behind this. I don't know all the logic. If this is, excluding the naughty list, I don't know. But I think we just wanted to think a little bit about that problem statement because there was a really cool reInvent announcement around increasing throughput for Glacier retrievals, and that's increased 10x at no additional cost. So if you're using those standard or bulk retrievals for Glacier, you could pull those objects out a whole bit faster. And we've had a number of customers that are doing a lot of retrievals, millions, billions, and this kind of pulls together, a second announcement that was from last year's reInvent, which made those bulk retrievals from Glacier free. So the requests for the retrievals. There's no cost for those. We still have a cost for staging, kind of pulling that data back, but the requests themselves, there's no additional cost. So kind of a cool one. You might want to go through and kind of look for any of those opportunities to do bulk retrievals, reduce the request costs, and pull that data out, a whole bunch faster with that 10x improvement that was just announced a couple of weeks back at reInvent.
Nice. Lots of big savings, Santa there. Wow. All right, Matty, this one's definitely going to go to you. So how can Santa utilize savings plans in order to save when using EC2 instances to host his Naughty or Nice website? I'm loving also that we're definitely pushing Santa to get in the cloud, like get rid of this paper. Every question is mainly about the Naughty or Nice list being a website. So just messaging him, just being like, come on,
Yeah,
Santa, get with the times.
hopefully
But yeah,
Santa's modernizing and changing some of the ways Santa does stuff, right?
yeah.
For me, what I imagine on Santa is that he has some infra that's going to stay on maybe 24/7 throughout the year for that website. So utilizing a savings plan for that steady state usage. But come say maybe December timeframe, even earlier than that, he may need to scale. So not using a savings plan for that, but using the different options that we have so that Santa can burst, right? Using on demand, using spot, depending on his tolerance for interruption there. So I would say using it for the steady state usage, those savings plans, and then when he needs to burst in the holiday time, using those other pricing models there.
And John, you're one of the spot people in the team. I definitely think of if I want to ask questions about spot, I always come to you. Putting Santa stuff aside, is there any recommendations you have people who want to get involved with using spot kind of today? Are there initial workloads that they can start with to kind of test the waters out and then maybe put more and more workloads on?
Sure. Yeah. There's kind of a whole list of some of our services that have native spot integration that kind of makes that a little bit easier. They don't need to go through and make changes to their actual application. They might be able to do this with things like SageMaker, things like EMR, even in the containerized space like that. Those are good ones where we've got stateless workloads that are running where they can maybe look at like a subset of stuff that they're doing out there and look for opportunities to introduce spot.
Nice. I like it. And guys, any questions out there, general, festive or otherwise, feel free to pop them in the chat as well. We're looking to answer any kind of FinOps questions in general today. Okay, what we got next. So that was from John Meyer, by the way, a previous guest of the show. All right, let's pop on this one. So I think this one's going to be a bit more of a discussion, an interesting kind of concept of what we do around this time of year. So normally on Christmas, many people go on PTO, paid time off, leave, Christmas holidays, and leave everything running. They leave EC2s, RDS, whatever services they have. So what do you prefer to do or even suggest doing when it comes to kind of saving money on these services? Matty, do you want to go and what you kind of recommend to customers in general about kind of idle resources or even around times when people would be working?
Yeah, I think one thing that would be useful is to have some visibility into the environments, right? So if you have sandbox environments, definitely those ones are ones to target first to shut down, especially during the holiday time, right? Maybe folks are going to be testing on those and it's lower risk to do so. Likewise, taking a look at your dev and maybe QA environments. And you want to separate those away from the prod because prod you still want probably your resources to be there. There probably can be some elasticity, but when you're doing prod, having more of a discussion with the folks that it might impact there, doing no harm there. So what I would say is take a look at your environments, see which ones might be eligible there. There's different tools to help you out for those sandbox environments, budget actions, and the such to help target which ones to shut down.
Yeah, budget actions, good call. Yeah, to keep things tracking because people won't be checking their emails as much when it comes to those alerts. And so, I mean, I don't know, guys, have you ever heard of people setting up a way to track alerts or budgets out of office hours? Like, is there a way to kind of do like a force notification? Has anyone done that? Maybe that should be a thing. Like on Slack when you have like pause notifications, but then you can like alert people.
Yeah, I mean, I think what maybe one option you might have there is taking the notifications you're getting from like budgets, put those into a Slack channel, and setting a priority preference on that. Like we do that with some here, where it's like, hey, I can snooze my notifications, but I want to always get a notification if it comes through to this specific Slack channel, and that way you're kind of maybe minimizing the noise. It's not having your phone blow up while you're on vacation, but you're getting some notifications if those are critical.
Yeah, that's a good point. Kind of making sure that if you do get a message, it's going to be an important one. So, John, what about you? Any recommendations for kind of apart from the budgets around this kind of managing stuff?
Yeah, there was a really cool one we heard from a customer where they were kind of trying to solve this same problem of like spinning stuff down when folks weren't using it, and it wasn't very predictable for them. They didn't really have a great way to kind of anticipate what was going to need to get spun down. And what they did was they built a solution around Trusted Advisor, where they basically took the list of low utilization resources from Trusted Advisor and then fed that into a Lambda function they had built that then had some more specific criteria around utilization. So Trusted Advisor has kind of these like fixed thresholds for notifications and setting the flags. They would take that and then whittle it down to a subset. And they found that when they tested this out with their team, there was like a sweet spot of CPU utilization where anything that was below 5% utilization over this trending window of time, they could comfortably go through and hibernate or kind of pause those instances, and that worked out really well for them. They saved a ton of money, more than we were able to even kind of anticipate just looking at the environment. But I think those kind of solutions can be like clever ways to figure out what works best for you and your team, using a lot of these tools as kind of a foundation for it.
Mm-hmm. Do you know, was that just in production, or was that was that just in development, or was that also in production?
Yeah, good question. As far as I know, that was mostly in like an internal enterprise service workload, not so probably
Right.
yeah. Think about those parts of the environment, yeah, the ones that will scale back down. But it's another good call too, where I think even just looking at the floor for like auto scaling cluster size and stuff like that's another good one, because
Mm.
you might have a normal baseline for the whole year, and then these seasonal periods like around the holidays, it may actually go lower, and maybe you want to reevaluate what that floor is to maximize the savings when those clusters start to spin down.
Yeah, definitely. It's all relative. I think that's a good point to kind of check different environments, different applications, because I think initially this could be a good time to test things out in terms of don't shut anything off production on the last Friday before you leave work, please. What I mean is, like, if you are thinking about, like Matty said, a great example with sandboxes, and maybe trying out things like EC2 scheduler or setting up some automation to turn things off at budgets. This is kind of a good time to do it, especially in those non-production workflows. People aren't, their day-to-day job isn't going to be affected if you turn things off. That's quite probably a good thing. But on the other hand, remember where you work. I think that's a good thing. I think I definitely used to do this, come in with a mindset of just like, turn it all off and we're not using it as the weekend. But then there are some applications that this time of year is going to be super busy. So you want to make sure that that kind of stuff's all left on and it keeps processing. Awesome. Okay, so let's pop on to another one. That was from William. Thank you. And this one's from Nathan. This is one I got an email about saying, where do I find all your very helpful links after you finish recording? I can tell you, if you're watching this on YouTube, they're all below. They're all in the chat down there that have all the links. Every episode, all the URLs that we share are in the chat. If you can't find one, email costoptimization@amazon.com. But as always, there's always questions. It's not very Christmassy, but I wanted to highlight that in case you can watch these and don't know where the links are. Okay, this is another kind of interesting one. It's a bit long. Okay, what can be identified as a North Star business metric to be used within KPI and cost monitoring, helping guide customers to determine what business drivers are meaningful to their products, services? Is this one of the first steps towards a highly mature cloud system? So what is the North Star KPI that you guys suggest people look at? Matty, I'll go with you first. What's the kind of key KPI that you get customers to check in on?
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Matty.
Yeah. So for me, I think one that I'm interested in usually is taking a look at the vCPU metrics. And it's not necessarily a business metric, not with ones like with what you're doing with your business, but it's a good place to start, good place to get your hands onto what you should be doing with unit metrics there. So taking a look at how much does it cost you for compute? What are the different levers that you have available to you, from the different purchasing models to the different instance families there, to help drive that. And that can really help with the forecasting. So maybe you're taking a look at migrating a new application and trying to figure out, hey, I need X amount of cores. Well, historically, this is how much I've paid on those cores. So this is how much it might cost me. After you get more experience with those vCPU metrics is when you can start to layer on the different things. So if you're a specific business with different business metrics that you need to track, layering those onto the vCPUs, what are the things that you're able to do? So how many customers can I service through doing X amount of activities?
Oh, vCPU, good one. What about you, John? Anything you push for?
Yeah, I think maybe a couple different lenses in this one. Sometimes we talk to customers and we're talking about like big internal services that they're running that, more of like cost center, right? Like they're not, revenue generating workloads. And in those cases, those customers really just want to make sure the workload's running as efficiently as possible. So they'll take in like these right sizing recommendations or take in any kind of optimization recommendation from an AWS tool and just compare that to what the cost of the workload is now. Then you can find out, hey, how efficient is this compared to what we think may be the best case, and kind of put a target around that. And then the other one is if it is a revenue generating workload or something like that, maybe you want to track, more about, cost per user. You want to track, kind of profitability, those types of like, more margin oriented metrics that could have like external factors that you then have like as a cost lever. Like, how do we tweak the application to make this, maybe do something a little bit different and improve the profitability of it?
Yeah, adding in that business metric is something that I think a lot of people are striving to find, and it is different per application. I think sometimes people try to think of one for like full ones, like compute and storage and tagging and utilization for commitments. They're great for like generic overarching CFM FinOps KPIs, but the more personal you can get, the more of an impact it can make to the people that are affecting it. Because if you're saying, like you said, John, per user, then that is a much more powerful story than just like per something. But then when you want to get more technical, like Matty's one, it is good to compare how well you're utilizing resources. So I feel like there's often a couple that you can kind of get to. If I wanted to choose one that I think people should check, I think unit cost is like the good standard one, especially if you're starting out in that kind of KPI world. That is one. And if you want to check out how to get some kind of pre-made cloud focused ones, as always, we mentioned the cloud intelligence dashboards. The KPI dashboard is a great one just to start seeing your costs.
Yeah, and I think like a good point there too is that those infrastructure metrics are always going to be important to track. You're always going to want to know, am I using the latest services? Am I running this efficiently? And then when you look at something like the cost intelligent dashboard, you may start to find metrics that you didn't even think about before. And that can get that light bulb to go off and get you to kind of dive into something that's specific to your workload and find the right fit. Definitely a exploratory type thing, I think, based on the nature of each of those workloads.
So we've got a time for one more. I'm going to throw this one specifically to John because I know he's done some work with it recently. How does one go about optimizing their Christmas delivery network, or as well known, CDN? John?
Yeah. So we were talking a little bit about CDN, before this call, and we see a couple different things with how folks are kind of like doing CDN within AWS. Typically, like default configurations are going to prioritize performance, but that might not always be the case. You might be using CDN, to go through and kind of reduce data transfer costs, and in that case, being able to just reduce those costs is great enough, and you're going to be less concerned about like millisecond level performance at each one of those points of presence. So when we're doing CDN within AWS, you have an option of basically choosing kind of how you want to prioritize that. Do you want to bucket this into more points of presence, so you're reducing latency for the end users, or do you want to kind of group all this stuff together, reduce the cost by running this in fewer points of presence, but benefiting from like tiering that you get with like more requests and more capacity kind of running through fewer locations. So I just say, kind of look at what your goals are there. And if it's just cost optimization, sometimes doing fewer points of presence is going to help you reduce that cost. It may still help you with your ultimate goal of like reducing data transfer costs overall.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. All right. Thank you. I think definitely CDM is one to get into in the new year. All right. Lightning round, super fast. We have 1 minute left. Matty, favorite Christmas film? Go.
No, I love Elf.
Elf.
No
John?
doubt. Yeah.
It's got to be Jingle All the Way. Come on.
What? I didn't even
Arnold
know that.
Schwarzenegger. Come on.
Oh my God, no. Okay. Mine is I watched the Santa Claus trilogy with Tim Allen. I just finished it yesterday when I was decorating a cake. So yeah, just gonna throw this up there. Okay, thank you so much for watching. If you have any other questions, please email us at costoptimization@amazon.com if you want to tell us a subject you want to talk about, or if you want us to do another panel like this. It was really good fun. Thank you to my guests for taking this very seriously with the Christmas inspired stuff, and with all of you who suggested questions and the very creative questions. We are back on the 26th of January, back here Thursdays, 3:30 GMT. See you then and have a good holiday.